Artober Learning Labs!
Hi everybody, happy Artober. I'm Joe Kane, the Director of Youth Programs at the Porch Writers Collective, and we're a creative writing nonprofit in Nashville, Tennessee, and we do all kinds of writing classes and events and contests for people of all ages. And today, I was hoping that you would join me in starting a story. Now, whether you're someone who's written many stories in the past and you just love a good excuse to start a new one, or if you just enjoy stories on TV and in books and you'd like to try starting a story and don't know how to get started, well, this is a great time to give it a shot. So I know that we're in October and it's the month of scary stories. So we're gonna start with one that could turn into a scary story. Really, it's going to start with a mystery. And you could take that mystery and turn it into a story with any kind of mood that you'd like. We're going to give you a beginning, and then you're going to take it from there and turn it into your own story in your own voice. Now, if you're not a fan of scary stories, you could turn it into a funny story or whatever it is that you like. If you're like me and you do like scary stories, this could be a great beginning to start a real spine tingler. But really, we're just going to start with some mystery. So I highly encourage you to have something to write with as we go. And you might want to, at several places in this video, hit pause and write down a few ideas or a few notes, little pieces of your story. Or if you'd like, you can also watch all the way through and then just get your story started after you've seen the whole video. It's up to you. To get us started, I want to set the scene a little. I want to just have a little moment to activate our imaginations. So if you will, kind of go on a little imaginary journey with me. And you can close your eyes right now if that's helpful. But just in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine that you're walking down a street. And this street is one that's very familiar to you. It could be a street from real life that you've actually walked down, or it could be one from your imagination that you're inventing as you go. Either way, as you're walking down the street, it feels like home. You know, maybe it has a friend's house on it. Maybe it has a restaurant or store that you go to all the time. So you're walking down the street and it feels familiar, and then all of a sudden you see an alleyway that you've never noticed before. And that's really strange because you know this neighborhood really well. And you're thinking to yourself, if there was an alley here, I think I would have remembered it. And normally you're not the type of person who would walk down an alley by yourself. But this one is just bothering you. You're like, I can't believe I never noticed this. So you decide to go check it out. And you're walking down this alley and it has a dead end. And at the end of the alley, there's a door in the wall. There's no sign over the door or an address or anything like that, but there is some writing on the door and it says, "Come in." And you notice that it's cracked a little. And from the crack in the doorway, you see a warm yellow light just starting to filter into the alley. And again, you're not normally the type of person who would just walk into a building that you don't know. But this time, there's something about this door and its invitation to come in that's just really calling to you. And you almost can't help yourself as you grab the knob and open it. Now, when you walk inside, you notice a strange sort of shop. And it's got all kinds of shelves on the walls and tables and even little pedestals. And on all these surfaces, there are all kinds of objects that don't seem to make sense why they would be here. They're not organized in any particular way. They seem to be a bunch of unrelated things. And if you'd like, right now, this could be a good moment to pause the video and do a little writing. Take yourself through the shop in your imagination. Walk across all the shelves and in between the tables and describe what's the room like. Where's the light coming from? What are some of the things that you notice around you? So just jot down details as you are moving through the space in your mind. One thing that I always like to think about too when I am creating this world of the shop, when I'm doing this writing exercise, is how does it smell? I think that's a great way to add mystery to a space, is to add a smell. At one point, now that you've investigated the space a little, you notice that there's a particular object that's really grabbing your attention, that's really standing out to you. And at this stage of the creating our story beginning, you can approach this object in a couple different ways. The first way, and my favorite way, is that you could invent an object in your imagination and then just describe details as you imagine them. So just kind of walk up to the object. Is it on a shelf? Is it on a table? Is it by itself or surrounded by other things? And then have sort of a basic idea of what it is in your mind. Is it a book or a cup or a piece of glass or a coin? It can be anything you want. And then when you have that basic idea, just start writing down details of things that you notice about it as you approach it in your imagination. Sort of look at it from all different angles. Imagine yourself walking up to it and getting close to it, maybe picking it up and turning it over. Or maybe you feel like you shouldn't touch it. What gives you that impression? And just start writing down all these things that you're observing about the object in your imagination. Another way that you might approach this is by taking inspiration from an object in real life. And this is a great strategy for if you're having a hard time deciding what you want to write about, imagining an object. It's another great way to just, if you want to try this writing exercise more than once and write more than one story, you can get some variety by getting inspiration from things around you. And this could be an ordinary, everyday object. It could be something very familiar to you that you've seen many times. Or you could try to find an object that feels a little strange and unfamiliar. Either way works equally well. So I've got a sample object here. It's a glass box, and it's got some dirt in it and stones. It used to have a plant. And I've passed by this object many times, but today I'm going to investigate it for my story. I'm going to apply a little imagination to it. So even if you have an object that you're very familiar with, maybe it's a mug that you drink out of all the time, I want you to look at it as though you're seeing it for the first time. And not just look, but really investigate it with your notebook ready as you go, so you can write down all the little things that you start to notice. So right away, I might start with some obvious things. It's a glass box. It's got glass on all sides. Oh, there's some dirt and stones in it. Then I might start to take a closer look. Oh, it's got metal on the edges. The corners are kind of sharp, so I'm going to investigate not just how does it look, but how does it feel? The glass is smooth. The corners are sharp. And I'm going to pick it up and really look at it from all angles. Sometimes we're used to only looking at something from one angle. I'm really going to investigate it from all angles. And doing that, I noticed that there's a stone on the bottom that's covered by the dirt that I've never noticed. I've never noticed that there's this rock down here, and it looks kind of interesting, and I might dig down to take a look at it. I also noticed that there's a piece of metal on the top with a hinge that looks like there was a lid, and maybe it's broken off now. It's an interesting detail that I would write down. So you can also explore your different senses interacting with the object. So you could give it a tap to see what sound it makes. Maybe tap it in a couple different places. We already talked about feeling the different textures in different parts of the object. You could give it a smell. I can smell like an earthy smell from the dirt and the leaves. It's surprising what you notice when you really try to investigate all sides and all senses of an object. I don't recommend tasting it. I'm not going to taste mine, and you probably shouldn't taste yours, but if it was appropriate, you could give that a shot too. So at this point, whether you've created an object in your imagination or you've taken inspiration from an object in real life, you have a description of what's going to be the inspiration, the spark that lights the fire of our story. Because this object is what is called a catalyst. And that's sort of a science-y term for if you introduce something small or something new that makes a big change. Have you ever seen, either in a classroom or on TV, in a science lab situation where someone could have a beaker of a liquid and then they have a little dropper and they drop one drop of something new into that beaker and it changes color. Or if it's really cool, maybe there's like a puff of smoke and it changes color, right? So that one little drop that they added is the catalyst. It's something small that creates a big change. And in our story, the mystery that we're getting started, this object is going to be the catalyst for something new in your character's life. So whatever it is that your character was going to do the next day is going to be changed because this object has been introduced into their life. So I've got 2 writing challenges for you that are going to be the runway that lead to the rest of your story. Challenge number 1 is I need you to decide, how is your character going to take this object home? Right now, you have it in the shop. Do you pay for it? Is there a shopkeeper there? What does it cost? Is it free, or do you pay for it with money? Or do you have to pay for it by providing a service or with something unexpected? Or maybe there's no shopkeeper and you just get the sense that you're allowed to take it. Or maybe you steal it. How you get the object home could become an important part of the story that you're about to tell. It could also not be that important. It's up to you. It's your story, but that's one big decision that you're going to have to make to get things started. And then, like I said, once you have that object with you, it's going to be the catalyst that creates a big change in your character's life. So without thinking of your character's whole life, just think about the next day. After you've decided how that object comes home, think about your character waking up at home the next morning, and that object is in the house. Before they took it home, maybe your character had a plan of what they were going to do that day. Maybe they were going to go shopping, or go to school, or do homework, or visit family. But whatever their plans were, they're going to change, because this object is going to call them to do something different. Now, this is an imaginative story, so you could give your object some type of real magical powers, or the object could just be a mystery that needs to be solved. Either way, it's going to start your character on a journey of interacting with it. So my writing prompt for you to finish and for you to take and make this story beginning your own is, what happens in that next day? How does your character interact with the object that you've invented? Feel free to take it in any direction that you want, and good luck. Have fun. Well, thank you for joining me for this little beginning of a story starter. That I love story starters like this, because you could try this 5 times and lead to 5 totally different stories. And other people could start in this same place for the beginning of their story, and what they write is going to be very different from what you write. It's just a little way to get started, to start putting some words on the page, and then turn that story into something that's totally your own. If you enjoyed sort of the writing process today and just taking some time to get creative and invent a story, I hope you'll check out the Porch. You can find us at PorchTN, as in Tennessee, porchtn.org. And we have all types of, like I said, workshops and events for people of different ages. We have a lot of in-person things, and we also have online workshops if you're not in Tennessee near us. A big thing that we have coming up that we're really excited about is this November. So in just a few days, we're going to have a novel writing experience for people in grades 6 through 9. So you can join us and you'll have a chance to write an entire first draft of a novel, whether you've written something like that before or not. So we'll have all kinds of things about character building and plot, and we're just going to go through it together, and you'll have a chance to write a whole novel draft. So keep an eye out for that, and maybe you can join us to write your novel this November, or just cross paths with us some other time. Happy Artober, happy writing.